Son abandons mother in poverty, unaware of the winning ticket she was hiding. Mrs. Beatrice held a yellowed piece of paper tightly between her trembling fingers as she watched her son's silhouette fade away for the last time. At 72, she knew this would be the final goodbye, and the weight of that certainty hurt more than all the years of sacrifice she had made for Trevor. "Mom, I've already explained that I can't stay here supporting you anymore," said Trevor, without even turning to look at her, as he loaded the last suitcase into the car. "Kimberly got that promotion in another city and we need the money. You'll have to manage on your own." Beatrice clenched the paper even tighter in her hands. Inside that yellowed piece was the solution to all the financial problems Trevor complained so much about, but it was also the reason she had never told him about it. The winning lottery ticket she had kept for 3 years inside the old family Bible, waiting for the right moment to reveal, now felt too heavy in her fingers. "Son, are you sure this is really what you want to do?" she asked, her voice low but firm. Trevor stopped for a moment, but then shook his head and kept walking. "You've always been very independent anyway. Everything will be fine." The gate of the small house with peeling bricks creaked as he closed it for the last time. Beatrice stood there, leaning against the stone wall that for years had supported not only the structure of the house, but also her moments of reflection. The floral dress she wore, even faded, still carried the dignity she maintained, despite all the hardships. In the silence that followed, she carefully unfolded the paper. The numbers were there, exactly as she had checked hundreds of times over the past 3 years. 07, 14, 23, 31, 42, 55. The ticket that could have changed both their lives long before this moment of abandonment. The neighbor next door, Mrs. Martha, appeared at the low fence that divided the backyards. "Beatrice, dear, I saw Trevor leaving with the suitcases. Did something happen?" "He got a job in another city, Martha. He's going to live there with his wife." Martha noticed something strange in her friend's tone, but didn't want to press the matter. "Well, if you need anything, I'm right next door, you know." Beatrice gave a weak smile and nodded, tucking the ticket back into the pocket of the brown cardigan she wore. Inside the house, the silence seemed even heavier. The photographs on the shelf showed happy moments. Trevor as a child in her arms, his high school graduation, his wedding to Kimberly. In all of them, Beatrice smiled with the genuine pride of a devoted mother. In the small kitchen, she made a black coffee and sat at the Formica table where so many meals had been shared. The ticket was there in her pocket, practically burning her conscience. 3 years earlier, when she discovered she had won, her first reaction was pure joy. Then came the fear. Trevor had always had problems with money, spending more than he earned, and constantly asking his mother for help. Beatrice feared that if he knew about the prize, he would completely lose his sense of responsibility. So she decided to wait, believing that one day he would mature enough to handle that amount sensibly. But the years passed, and Trevor only got worse. The debts grew, the requests for money became more frequent, and the pressure from his wife for him to make something of his life increased with every argument Beatrice heard through the thin walls. Now, sitting alone at home, she wondered if she had made the right choice. Perhaps if she had told him about the ticket years ago, Trevor wouldn't have felt so desperate as to abandon her. The ringing of the phone pulled her from her thoughts. "Hello? Mrs. Beatrice, this is Ashley from Dr. Miller's office. You have an appointment scheduled for tomorrow, but since we couldn't confirm—" "Oh, yes, Ashley, I'll be there." "All right, ma'am. And are you managing to keep up with your medications?" Beatrice looked at the nearly empty bottle of high blood pressure pills on the kitchen counter. "Yes, I am, dear. Thank you." She hung up the phone, knowing she was lying. Money was getting tighter, and without Trevor's help, she didn't know how she would afford next month's medication. Ironically, the solution was right there, tucked in her pocket. In the house next door, Martha was talking with her husband, Mr. George. "I'm worried about Beatrice, George. The way she talked about Trevor. Something's wrong." "How long have you known her?" 20 years. The woman is strong, Martha. She's managed on her own since she became a widow." "But she's older now and without Trevor around." "I'm not so sure." George lowered the newspaper and looked at his wife. "What do you want to do?" "I'll keep an eye on her. If anything happens, we'll help." The next day, Beatrice woke up early, as she always did. She swept the sidewalk, watered the plants, and made breakfast. The routine helped keep her from thinking too much about the loneliness that now filled the entire house. Around 10 in the morning, she was putting laundry on the clothesline when she saw a young woman walking slowly down the street looking at house numbers. The girl seemed lost. "Can I help you, dear?" asked Beatrice over the fence. The young woman approached. She was pretty, probably in her early 30s, with brown hair tied in a ponytail and simple but tidy clothes. "I'm looking for Mrs. Beatrice Harrison's house." "That's me. What can I do for you?" "Oh, great." The girl smiled with relief. "My name is Samantha. I work at the accounting firm on Main Street, and I needed someone to do a deep cleaning there. Mrs. Martha told me you sometimes take on extra work." Beatrice hesitated for a moment. It had been years since she worked outside the home, but her financial situation demanded practical decisions. "What kind of work would it be?" "A full cleaning, really. There's a lot of accumulated paper, drawers to organize, that sort of thing. We pay well, and there's no rush. Would you be interested? Can I talk to Martha first and then give you an answer?" "Of course. I'll leave you my number." Samantha wrote the number on a piece of paper. "You seem like a trustworthy person." After the young woman left, Beatrice went to Martha's house. "Do you know this Samantha from the accounting firm?" "Yes, I do. She's a good girl, a hard worker." "Why?" "She offered me a cleaning job." Martha noticed the hesitation in her friend's voice. "Beatrice, what's going on? You've been different since yesterday." Beatrice took a deep breath. She couldn't talk about the ticket, but she needed to vent about Trevor. "Trevor didn't just go to accept a job, Martha. He really abandoned me, said he can't support me anymore, and that I have to manage on my own." "What do you mean abandoned? But you two were always so close." "I know. It seems the bills got tight at home with Kimberly, and he found it easier to leave me here than to take responsibility." Martha was outraged. "That's absurd after all you've done for him." "That's life, Martha. No use dwelling on it. That's why I'm thinking of accepting this job from Samantha." "Yes, accept it. It'll do you good to get out of the house and have something to do. Do you think I can? It's been so long since I worked outside. Beatrice, you raised a son alone, took care of your mother until the end. You've always kept this house impeccable. Of course you can." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That afternoon, Beatrice called Samantha and accepted the job. They scheduled for her to start the following Monday. Over the weekend, she organized the house and mentally prepared for the new routine. The accounting firm was a 15-minute walk from her home. It was a small building with 2 rooms on the ground floor and 2 more upstairs. Samantha greeted her with a warm smile. "Mrs. Beatrice, I'm so glad you accepted. Let me show you what needs to be done." The place really was a mess. Stacks of paper everywhere, drawers clogged with documents, a layer of dust that seemed to have accumulated for years. "My, there's work here indeed," commented Beatrice, rolling up her sleeves. "Yeah, the previous accountant wasn't very organized. When we took over the firm, we inherited all this mess. You can start wherever you prefer." Beatrice decided to start with the smaller room, which seemed less chaotic. As she worked, Samantha brought coffee and chatted. "Do you have family here in town?" "I have a son, but he moved away recently." "It must be hard to be alone after so much time together." "Yes, it is, but one gets used to it." Samantha noticed the sadness in Beatrice's tone, but didn't want to press the subject. During the first days of work, Beatrice rediscovered the satisfaction of having an occupation. The office, even messy, had an energy different from the loneliness of home. Samantha was pleasant company, always respectful and attentive. On Thursday of the first week, while organizing a drawer full of old papers, Beatrice found some old lottery tickets. Her heart raced. Automatically, she brought her hand to the pocket where she always carried her own ticket. "Mrs. Beatrice, did you find something interesting there?" asked Samantha, noticing the older woman's expression. No, no, just some old papers. But that moment made Beatrice think again about her situation. There she was, working hard at 72, while holding in her hand the solution to all her financial problems. What was stopping her from claiming the prize? The answer came clearly: the fear that Trevor would find out and return only out of interest in the money. But he had already made it clear he wanted nothing more to do with her. Perhaps it was time to think of herself. During lunch, Samantha started a more personal conversation. "May I ask a question, Mrs. Beatrice?" "Of course, dear." "Have you always lived here in town?" "Always. I was born, grew up, married, raised my son, all right here." "And you never wanted to see other places?" Beatrice stopped to think. There were indeed some places she had always wanted to visit, but life never allowed it. "I wanted to see the Gulf Coast. I've never seen the ocean." "Really? Never ever?" "Never. Trevor always promised he'd take me one day, but—" She sighed. "Well, some things just aren't meant to be." "But you still have time. It's not so far from here." "Alone at this age?" "Why not? You're smarter and braver than a lot of young people out there." This conversation echoed in Beatrice's mind for the rest of the afternoon. Why couldn't she fulfill some dreams? If the lottery ticket was really worth anything, maybe it was time to find out. That night she took the old family Bible from the shelf and opened it to the page where she had kept the ticket stored for 3 years. Along with it was a note with the drawing date and the prize amount: $100,000. $100,000. A sum that would solve all her problems and even allow her to fulfill some dreams she had kept to herself her whole life. The next morning, Friday, Beatrice arrived at the office earlier than usual. Samantha hadn't arrived yet, so she took the opportunity to think. Sitting in the room that was now almost completely organized, she made a decision. She would check the ticket's validity. When Samantha arrived, Beatrice tried to act naturally, but she was visibly nervous. "Are you feeling all right today? You seem worried about something." "Actually, Samantha, I need to step out for a bit this morning. I can make up the hours this afternoon." "Of course, you don't even need to make them up. Did something happen?" "No. It's just a personal matter I need to take care of." Samantha noticed something important was going on, but she respected the older woman's privacy. Beatrice left the office and walked to the lottery retailer on Main Street. With each step, her heart beat faster. What if the ticket had expired? What if it was all an illusion she had nurtured for years? The lottery retailer was busy that Friday morning. Beatrice waited in line, holding the ticket tightly in her pocket. When it was her turn, the clerk, a young man, greeted her kindly. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "Good morning. I'd like to check an old ticket." "Of course, may I see it?" With slightly trembling hands, Beatrice took the ticket from her pocket and handed it over. The young man typed the numbers into the computer and waited for the system to process. Beatrice held her breath. "Ma'am, unfortunately this ticket has expired. Prizes have a 90-day claim period, and this one is from 3 years ago." The world seemed to collapse around Beatrice. She leaned on the counter to keep from falling. "Are you sure? Isn't there anything that can be done?" "I'm afraid not, ma'am. After the deadline, the money goes back to the lottery fund. I'm sorry." Beatrice left the lottery retailer in a state of shock. 3 years keeping that ticket, 3 years dreaming of the financial security it represented, all for nothing. She had lost $100,000 by being overly cautious. She sat on a bench in the square across from the lottery retailer and cried. She cried for the lost opportunity, for the loneliness, for her son's abandonment, for all the dreams that never came true. People passed by her without noticing the drama unfolding at that moment. After a few minutes, she dried her tears and took a deep breath. She couldn't change the past, but she could decide what to do with the present. She put the worthless ticket back in her pocket and returned to the office. Samantha immediately noticed something had happened. "Mrs. Beatrice, are you all right?" "Yes, dear. I just took care of a pending matter." "Do you want to talk about it?" Beatrice hesitated. Part of her wanted to vent, to tell someone about the 3 years of lost hope. But another part felt ashamed of her own naivety. "Maybe another day, Samantha. Today I'd rather work." All afternoon, Beatrice threw herself into her work with an intensity that impressed Samantha. It was as if she were trying to forget some pain through the constant movement of her hands and her focus on the tasks. At the end of the day, when Samantha came to pay for the week's work, Beatrice accepted the money with a gratitude that seemed disproportionate to the young woman. "Mrs. Beatrice, this work has been very good for us. You have a knack for organization." "Thank you, dear. It's been good for me too." "May I ask a question?" "Go ahead." "Do you have other children besides the one who moved away?" The question caught Beatrice off guard. "No, I only have Trevor." "Why?" "It's just... I can't explain it well, but sometimes I feel like I have a connection with you, as if we've known each other longer." Beatrice smiled, touched by the girl's kindness. "Sometimes certain people come into our lives at the right time. Maybe that's it." Over the weekend, Beatrice reflected a lot on her situation. The shock of discovering the truth about the ticket had passed, leaving in its place a strange feeling of freedom. For 3 years, she had lived with a secret expectation. Now, without that false hope, she needed to face reality head-on. On Monday, she arrived at the office with a different energy. Samantha noticed the change. "You seem more cheerful today." "You know, that's true. I've been thinking that maybe it's time to change some things in my life." "What kind of changes?" "I don't know yet. But for the first time in a long while, I feel like I can choose the direction of things." As they worked, Samantha shared a bit about her own life. "You know, Mrs. Beatrice, I went through a difficult period myself a few years back. I lost my adoptive mother, the one who raised me, and I felt a bit lost in the world." "Your adoptive mother?" "Yes. I was adopted when I was very little. I never knew my biological family." Something in Samantha's tone touched Beatrice deeply. "It must be hard not knowing where you come from." "It is. Sometimes I wonder what my real mother was like, if she's still alive, if she thinks of me." Beatrice stopped what she was doing and looked at Samantha carefully. There was something familiar about the young woman, something she couldn't place. "Do you know anything about your adoption? Where it happened? Things like that?" "I know some basics. It happened right here in town when I was 2. My biological mother was very young and couldn't afford to raise me." Beatrice's heart began to beat faster. There was a very painful memory in her past that she had tried to forget all these years. "Samantha, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Do you have any birthmarks or scars that are quite distinctive?" Samantha seemed surprised by the question, but rolled up her sleeve, showing a small crescent moon-shaped scar on her forearm. "I have this one. Why?" Beatrice felt her legs go weak. She knew that scar. She had spent sleepless nights caring for it when it was just a small cut on the arm of a 2-year-old child. "Samantha," she said, her voice choked, "I need to tell you something." The young woman noticed the emotion in the older woman's voice and moved closer. "What is it, Mrs. Beatrice? You look pale." "When I was 19, I had a daughter. The father ran off when he found out about the pregnancy, and I was completely alone. My parents had kicked me out of the house because of the pregnancy out of wedlock." Samantha listened in silence, her heart racing. "I tried to raise the girl alone for 2 years, but the situation was impossible. I had no job, no proper place to live. We went hungry. One day she got hurt playing, got a cut on her arm that healed into a crescent moon shape." "Mrs. Beatrice," whispered Samantha. "That's when I made the hardest decision of my life. I gave her up for adoption, to a family who could give her what I couldn't. I never forgave myself for that." The 2 women looked at each other in silence for a long moment. The emotion was so strong, neither could speak. You think I... Samantha, what's your birthday?" "March 15th. Beatrice began to cry. "March 15th. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but it became the most painful. It's the day you were born, and also the day I gave you away." Samantha moved closer and hugged Beatrice. They both cried together, years of pain and longing being released in that moment. "My daughter," whispered Beatrice, "my dear little girl." "Mom," replied Samantha, the word coming out naturally after being held in her heart for so many years. They held each other for a long time, neither wanting to break that magical moment of reunion. "How was your life, daughter? Were they good to you?" "They were, Mom. Mrs. Eleanor, my adoptive mother, was a wonderful person. She gave me so much love and education, taught me to be the person I am today. Thank God. That was my biggest fear, that you wouldn't be happy. And you? How was it raising Trevor alone? Oh, it was hard, but I was older then, more mature. I got a job, rented a little house. It was different. Mum, can I ask a question? Of course, my love. Did you ever try to look for me? Beatrice took a deep breath. Every day for years I thought about this, but I was afraid of disrupting your life, of causing confusion in your family. I thought it would be selfish of me to show up after so long. I always wanted to find you too, but I didn't know how. And now, how do you feel? Confused, happy, emotional, all at the same time. And you? I feel as if a part of me that was lost has come home. They talked for hours, exchanging stories, filling in the gaps of so many years apart. Samantha told about her childhood, her studies, her work at the accounting firm. Beatrice spoke about Trevor, about the hardships she went through, about the loneliness of recent times. Mom, you said Trevor left. What exactly happened? Beatrice told the whole story of the abandonment, but didn't mention the lost lottery ticket. It was still too painful to talk about. That's outrageous. How could he do that? He was desperate with debts, my dear. Sometimes people do terrible things when they're afraid. But abandoning his own mother, there's no excuse for that. I don't want you to be angry with him, Samantha. He is your half-brother after all. Samantha fell silent for a moment, processing all that information. It's strange to think I have a brother who doesn't know you exist. Are you going to tell him? I don't know yet. I need to think a lot about all of this. When it was time to leave, neither of them wanted to part. Can I walk you home, Mom? Of course you can, my love. They walked together through Beatrice's familiar streets, but now everything seemed different. She was no longer alone in the world. At the door of the house, Samantha hesitated. May I come in? This is your home, my dear. It always has been. Inside the simple house, Samantha observed every detail with curiosity and emotion. On the living room shelf, there was a photo of her as a child, which Beatrice had obtained through an acquaintance who worked at the orphanage. You kept my photo. I kept everything I could, some of your little clothes, some toys. It's all stored in the bedroom closet. Samantha began to cry again. Mom, What is it, my love? I have a confession to make. When I came looking for you for the work, it wasn't actually by chance. Beatrice was confused. What do you mean? A few weeks ago, I gained access to my adoption records. I discovered your name, your address. I came looking for you, but I didn't have the courage to identify myself. That's why I made up the story about the work. You already knew who I was. I suspected. When I saw you for the first time, I felt a very strong connection. And as we talked, the pieces started falling into place. Beatrice hugged her daughter again. I'm so glad you were brave, my daughter. I'm so glad we found each other. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. That night, Samantha stayed for dinner at her mother's house. They talked late into the night, each getting to know the person the other had become. Mum, may I ask about my father? Beatrice sighed. It was a part of the story she preferred not to revisit. Your father was a young man like me. When he found out about the pregnancy, he was desperate. His family was very strict, and he was afraid of being thrown out of the house too, so he ran away. Did you ever love him? I thought I loved him at the time, but it was all very immature, very intense. I don't know if it was real love or just teenage passion. And after that, did you ever have contact again? Never again. I heard from acquaintances that he moved to another state, got married, had children, built a new life. Did you ever tell him about me? I tried, but by the time I found out where he was, you had already been adopted. I thought it best to let it be. And Trevor? Does he know he has a sister? No, I never told him. It was a very painful period of my life, and I wanted to protect him from any suffering. But are you going to tell him now? I don't know yet, dear. I need to think carefully about it. Trevor is going through a difficult time, and I don't know how he would react to this information. I would like to meet him, and I would like for you to meet, but it needs to be at the right time, in the right way. In the following days, Beatrice's routine changed completely. Samantha started having lunch with her every day, and often stayed for dinner too. The two were discovering the joy of being mother and daughter after so many years apart. The accounting firm became an even more pleasant environment. Beatrice worked with renewed enthusiasm, knowing she was close to her reunited daughter. A week after the reunion, Samantha brought an unexpected proposal. "Mom, I was thinking about something." "What is it, my love?" "How about you come live with me?" Beatrice was surprised. "Live with you?" "Yes, I have an apartment with 2 bedrooms. One stays empty, and it would be wonderful to have your company." "But dear, you're young, you have your own life." "I don't want to be in the way." "In the way, Mom, we spent 30 years apart. Now that we've found each other, I want to enjoy every moment by your side." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Besides, this way you won't be alone in this house, which must bring back some sad memories." Beatrice looked around the house where she had lived for so many years. It was true the place had become melancholic after Trevor left. "I need to think, my love." "Of course. There's no rush. Actually, there's something I need to tell you before we make any decision." Samantha realized it was something serious. "What is it?" Beatrice took a deep breath and told her about the lost lottery ticket. She spoke of the 3 years of secret hope, the fear of telling Trevor, the disappointment of discovering she had missed the deadline to claim the prize. Samantha listened to everything in silence, holding her mother's hands. "Mom, you kept this secret for 3 years." "I did, and now I feel like a fool for it." "Don't say that. You did what you thought was right at the time. But what if I had told him? Maybe Trevor wouldn't have abandoned me. Or maybe he would have become dependent on the money and never learned to be responsible." Beatrice considered her daughter's words. "You think so?" "I do. Mom, you acted from the heart, thinking of his well-being. It wasn't wrong. But now it's all lost." "It's not lost at all. Now you have me. And I'm going to take care of you like you took care of me when I was little." Beatrice began to cry. "How did I get so lucky to find you again?" "I'm the lucky one, Mom. You gave me life twice. When you brought me into the world and when you gave me the chance to have a family that loved me." 2 days later, Beatrice made the decision to move into her daughter's apartment. It was a small but cozy place, overlooking a little square full of trees. "This is your home now, Mom," said Samantha, showing the room she had prepared. "Thank you, my daughter. I don't know how to thank you for all this." "You don't need to thank me for anything. It's the least I can do." The adjustment was easier than Beatrice expected. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. She had someone to talk to during meals, someone to watch television with at night, someone who cared about her well-being. Samantha, in turn, discovered the joy of having a real mother. Mrs. Eleanor had been wonderful, but there had always been an inexplicable longing that was now being filled. A month after the move, they were having breakfast when the phone rang. "Hello?" answered Samantha. "Samantha, it's me, Trevor." Beatrice almost dropped her cup of coffee. "Trevor." "How did you get my number?" I asked Mrs. Martha. "I need to speak with my mother." Samantha looked at Beatrice, who nodded positively. "Yes, she is here. I'll pass the phone to her." "Hello, Trevor." "Mom!" His voice was choked up. "Mom, I need to speak with you." "What happened, son?" "Everything went wrong here, Mom. I lost my job. Kimberly left me. I have nowhere to stay." Beatrice felt her heart tighten. "Where are you now?" "At the city bus station. I just arrived. Mom, can I come home?" Beatrice looked at Samantha, who had heard the whole conversation. "Trevor, a lot has changed since you left. I know I was unfair to you, Mom. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I have no one else." "It's not that, son. I forgive you. Of course I forgive you. It's just that I don't live in the old house anymore." "What do you mean?" "It's a long story. Come here and we'll talk." Beatrice gave him the address of Samantha's apartment. After hanging up, the two women looked at each other. "And now?" asked Samantha. Now I need to tell him the whole truth. About you, about us, about everything. Are you sure, ma'am? Yes. We've already hidden too many secrets in this family. 40 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Beatrice went to answer, and Trevor appeared at the door with a small suitcase and a look of defeat on his face. "Mum," he said, collapsing in tears into her arms. "It's okay, son. It's okay." They hugged for a long time. Afterwards, Beatrice led him to the living room where Samantha was waiting. "Trevor, I want you to meet someone very special." He looked at the young woman with curiosity. "This is Samantha. She is your sister." Trevor fell silent for a long moment, processing the information. "What do you mean, my sister?" Beatrice told the whole story from the beginning. She talked about the pregnancy at 19, about the adoption, about the recent reunion. Trevor listened to everything in a state of shock. "I have a sister," he murmured. "Yes, you do," said Samantha, stepping closer. "And I'm very happy to meet you." Trevor looked at her, then at his mother, trying to take in all that information. "Why did you never tell me, Mum?" "Because it was very painful, son, and because I thought it would be better to protect you from that suffering. But now she's here." "She is, and we're trying to make up for lost time." Trevor approached Samantha timidly. "Hi," he said, not quite knowing how to act. "Hi," she replied, smiling. "It's strange, isn't it? Finding out we have a brother, a sister. It's very strange, but it's good too." Beatrice watched the interaction between her two children with a heart full of emotion. "Kids, why don't we all sit down and talk? We have a lot to catch up on." The three of them sat at the kitchen table. Trevor told them about what had happened in the other city, how the job had gone wrong from the start, how Kimberly had become increasingly demanding and critical, how he had sunk into debt trying to meet her expectations. "In the end, she said I was a failure and was going to find someone better," he said, his voice heavy with pain. "I'm so sorry, son," said Beatrice. "It was my fault, Mom, for everything, for abandoning you, for being selfish, for believing money was more important than family." Samantha watched him with compassion. She could see he was truly remorseful. "Trevor, we all make mistakes," she said. "The important thing is to learn from them." "That's true," Beatrice agreed. "And now we're all here together. It's a new chance for all of us." "But I have nowhere to live, no job. I have nothing to offer," said Trevor, discouraged. "You have a family," said Samantha, "and that's more important than anything." "Samantha is right, son. We'll figure out your situation. Together." Trevor looked at the two women he loved most in the world, and for the first time in months, felt a glimmer of hope. "Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me." "There's nothing to forgive among family," said Beatrice. In the following days, the apartment's dynamic changed completely. Trevor slept on the living room sofa while he looked for work. Samantha helped him organize his resume and introduced him to some professional contacts. Beatrice cooked for the three of them and felt complete for the first time in many years. But living together wasn't easy at first. Trevor still carried a lot of guilt for abandoning his mother and sometimes became defensive when Samantha talked about what Beatrice's life had been like during his absence. "You don't understand," he said during an argument. "I grew up knowing I was responsible for her happiness. It was a lot of pressure." "And you think she didn't feel the same pressure?" Samantha retorted. "She worked her whole life to give you the best. She gave up many dreams because of you." "I know that. Then why did you abandon her when she needed you most?" "Because I'm a coward," Trevor exploded. "Because I ran from my problems like I always do." "Are you satisfied?" Beatrice intervened. "Both of you stop. I don't want fighting in this house." "Sorry, Mom," said Samantha. "Sorry, Mother," murmured Trevor. "Listen here," said Beatrice, sitting between them. "We've spent too many years apart to waste time fighting. Trevor, you were wrong, but you're trying to make it right. Samantha, you have a right to be hurt, but your brother is suffering too." "You're right," admitted Samantha. "Yeah," agreed Trevor. "I'm sorry, Samantha. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I lost my temper too. I'm sorry." "Now give me your hands, both of you," asked Beatrice. They obeyed, a little awkwardly. "We are a family. A small family, but a true family, and family loves and protects each other no matter what." "I love you both," said Trevor, moved. I love you both too, said Samantha. And I love you more than anything in this life, said Beatrice, hugging both her children. 2 weeks later, Trevor got a job as a salesperson at a home improvement store. It wasn't exactly what he wanted, but it was a fresh start. Mother, now that I'm working, I'm going to look for a place to live, he announced at dinner. Why? Asked Beatrice. Because I can't stay here forever getting in your way. You're not in anyone's way, said Samantha. Actually, I was thinking about something. What? What if we looked for a bigger house for the 3 of us? Trevor looked surprised. Are you serious? Very serious. A house with 3 bedrooms so we each have our own space, but where we could be together. But that must be expensive. We can split the expenses. I have my savings, you have a job now. And I have my retirement, Beatrice completed. You would really do that? Asked Trevor, moved. Of course we would, said Beatrice. I've dreamed my whole life of having my children close by. Then it's decided, said Samantha. Let's look for a house. They started looking the following weekend. They wanted something simple but cozy in a quiet neighborhood. After visiting several options, they found a small but perfect house. 3 bedrooms, a spacious living room, a roomy kitchen and a backyard with a few fruit trees. This is it, said Beatrice as soon as she walked in. Are you sure, Mother? Asked Trevor. Absolutely. This house has good energy. This is where we're going to be happy. The moving process was hectic but joyful. The 3 of them worked together to set up the new house, each contributing what they could. Beatrice took care of the decoration and organization. Samantha handled the bureaucratic and financial matters. Trevor did the necessary repairs and took care of the backyard. 1 month after the move, they were having dinner when Trevor made a comment that left Beatrice pensive. You know, Mum, sometimes I wonder how different it would have been if you had some financial savings when I was struggling. Beatrice and Samantha exchanged a look. Why do you say that, son? I don't know. I guess I wouldn't have gotten so desperate that I did the stupid things I did. Trevor, said Samantha, can I tell him something, Mum? Beatrice hesitated, but finally nodded. Tell me what? Asked Trevor. Samantha told him about the lottery ticket that Beatrice had kept for 3 years, and that expired just before he left. Trevor was in a state of shock. $100,000. You had $100,000 and didn't tell me. Trevor, Beatrice began. I can't believe it. I got desperate. I abandoned you. I destroyed my life because of money, and you had $100,000 saved. Son, let me explain. Explain what? Trevor got up from the table, upset. That you didn't trust me. That you preferred to see me suffer than to help me. That's not it. Then what was it? He was shouting now. It was fear, Beatrice shouted back. Fear that you would become dependent, that you would never learn to be responsible, that the money would ruin you. And what ruined things was hiding it. You let me leave, you let me abandon you when you could have solved everything. Trevor, stop, Samantha intervened. Mom suffered with that decision for years. And I suffered too. We all suffered. Why? Because of a stupid decision. Beatrice began to cry. Trevor, please. No, Mom. Not this time. You were wrong, and you were very wrong. And now we have to live with the consequences forever. He left the house, slamming the door. Beatrice broke down in tears and Samantha ran to comfort her. Mom, he'll calm down. It's a lot of information to process at once. He's right, dear. I ruined everything with my silly fears. Don't say that. You did what you thought was right at the time. But it was wrong. It cost us all our happiness. Samantha hugged her mother and stayed there, letting her cry out all the accumulated frustration. Trevor returned home late at night, after walking all over town trying to process everything he had discovered. He found Beatrice and Samantha in the living room, waiting for him. Mom, he said, his voice calmer, I need to talk to you. You can talk, son. I'm still very angry. I won't lie. I think you were wrong, and very wrong. Beatrice lowered her eyes. But, he continued, I also understand that you did what you thought was best at the time. And maybe you were right. How so? Thinking about it, if I had known about that money back then, I probably would have spent it all irresponsibly. That's what I did with any money that came my way. Trevor. No, Mom, let me finish. You knew me better than I knew myself. You knew I wasn't ready to handle an amount like that. But still, I shouldn't have hidden it from you. Yes, you should have, because if you hadn't hidden it, I never would have learned what I learned. What did you learn? That money doesn't solve everything. That family is more important than anything else. That you have always been the wisest person I know, even when I couldn't see it. Beatrice looked at her son with surprise and pride. You've grown up, Trevor. I needed to lose everything to grow up, but I did. And now I know that I don't need $100,000 to be happy. I need the two of you. Samantha smiled, moved by her brother's maturity. And we need you too, she said. The three of them hugged, and for the first time since the reunion, Beatrice felt that her family was truly whole and at peace. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the following months, the family's life took an unexpected turn. Trevor, motivated by his new perspective on life, began to excel at work. His past experience with sales and his new responsible attitude caught the store owner's attention. Trevor, can I have a word with you? Called Mr. Henderson, the store owner. Of course, Mr. Henderson. I'm impressed with your performance. In 3 months, you've become one of the best salespeople I've ever had. Thank you, Mr. Henderson. I'm doing my best. May I ask what changed? Because at the beginning you seemed a bit lost, but now... Trevor thought for a moment. I discovered what really matters in life, Mr. Henderson, and that gave me a different motivation. That's wonderful. Listen, I have a proposal for you. I'm thinking of opening a branch in the city's new neighborhood. How would you like to be the manager there? Trevor was surprised. Manager? But Mr. Henderson, I've only been here 3 months, and 3 months very well spent. What do you say? I accept. Of course I accept. That night, Trevor came home beaming with happiness. Everyone, I have news. What is it? Asked Beatrice and Samantha together. I've been promoted to manager. The two celebrated with him, genuinely happy for the success of their son and brother. I'm so proud of you, son, said Beatrice. Thank you, Mum. But I want to share this achievement with you. After all, you were the ones who gave me the strength to start over. Samantha was also going through professional changes. The accounting firm where she worked was growing, and she had been invited to become a partner. It's an incredible opportunity, she said during dinner, but it's also a big risk. Why a risk? Asked Trevor. Because I need to invest my savings to buy a share of the partnership. If it goes wrong, I lose everything. And if it goes right? Asked Beatrice. If it goes right, I could earn much more than I do today. Then do it, said Beatrice without hesitation. Are you sure? Absolutely. You are smart, hard-working, honest. It will work out. Mom is right, agreed Trevor. And if you need anything, we are here for you. With the family's support, Samantha accepted the partnership offer. In the first few months, she worked even harder than before, but the results began to show quickly. Meanwhile, Beatrice found a new occupation. Mrs. Martha, her old neighbor, approached her with a different proposal. Beatrice, you know I live in a senior living community now, right? Yes, I do, Martha. Well, there's a little community room where we gather to chat, do crafts, that sort of thing. And the other ladies are always talking about how good you were at giving advice, how you knew how to listen to other people's problems. Where are you going with this? Would you be interested in giving some little talks there? Speaking about overcoming challenges, about family, things like that? Beatrice was surprised. Little talks? Martha, I've never done anything like that in my life. But you have a lifetime of experience to share. Look at everything you've been through. Look at how you managed to keep the family united in the end. I don't know, Martha. Think about it carefully. The other ladies would love to hear your stories. That evening, Beatrice mentioned the proposal to her children. I think Mrs. Martha is right, Mom, said Samantha. You have a lot of wisdom to share. But what would I talk about? About my mistakes? About how I almost lost both of you because of my stubbornness? Talk about exactly that, said Trevor. Talk about how we make mistakes, how we learn, how we forgive each other. That could help a lot of people. You think so? I'm sure of it. Mum, your story could inspire other people going through similar difficulties. Convinced by her children, Beatrice accepted Martha's invitation. Her first talk was on a Saturday afternoon for a group of 15 ladies. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began nervously. "My name is Beatrice, and I came here to share a bit of my story with you." For an hour, she spoke about the challenges of raising 2 children in different eras, about the mistakes she made, about the pain of separation and the joy of reunion. She talked about the lost lottery ticket and how she discovered that the real prize wasn't the money, but the love of family. When she finished, there were tears in the eyes of several women in the audience. "Mrs. Beatrice," said one of them, "you made me realize there's still time to fix some things with my daughter." "And I understood that I don't need to be afraid to forgive my son," said another. Beatrice left feeling emotional and fulfilled. She had discovered a new passion, helping other people through her life experience. The talks became regular, and soon she was being invited to speak in other places: churches, neighborhood associations, senior groups. Each presentation was different, but the central theme was always the same: the transformative power of love and forgiveness in family. One day, after a particularly moving talk, a young woman approached Beatrice. "Mrs. Beatrice, my name is Jennifer. I'm a journalist for the local Gazette. I would really like to do a story about your history." "A story about me?" "About you and your family. I think it's a story that could touch many people." Beatrice hesitated. "I need to talk to my children first." That night she told them about the journalist's proposal. "What do you think?" "I think it could be good," said Samantha. "If our story can help other families, why not share it?" "But you don't mind the exposure?" "Mom," said Trevor, "there's nothing shameful about our story. It's a story of love, mistakes, forgiveness. If that can inspire someone, I'm in." The story was published on the front page of the local section of the newspaper. The headline was, "Mother reunites with daughter after 30 years and reclaims son who had abandoned her." The impact was immediate. Beatrice began receiving phone calls from people wanting to schedule talks, from families asking for advice, from journalists interested in the story. But the call that marked her the most came a week after the story was published. "Hello? Beatrice?" She recognized the voice immediately, even after so many years. "Gregory?" "Yes, it's me. I saw the story in the paper. I thought a lot about whether I should call..." Gregory, Samantha's father, the first love of her youth, who had run away when he learned of the pregnancy. "How did you get my number?" "I asked the journalist, 'Beatrice, I need to talk to you, and mainly, I need to meet our daughter.'" Beatrice was silent for a long moment. "Gregory, more than 30 years have passed. I know, and I know I have no right to ask for anything. But when I read the story, when I learned that you had reunited, I couldn't stop thinking that I missed the chance to know my daughter. You started a family, Gregory. You have other children." "I do, and I love them very much. But I never forgot you. I never forgot the daughter we had together. It's a very complicated situation." "I know. That's why I'm only asking for a chance to talk. With you first, and if she wants, with her too." Beatrice looked at Samantha, who had listened to the whole conversation. "Mom, who is it?" she asked softly. "It's your father," whispered Beatrice, covering the phone. Samantha's eyes widened. "Gregory," said Beatrice into the phone, "I'll talk with Samantha and then give you an answer." "All right, I'll wait." After hanging up, Beatrice looked at her daughter. "So? I don't know what to think, Mom. I never imagined I'd speak to him one day." "Do you want to meet him?" "I think so, but I'm also scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of being disappointed. Scared he won't be what I expect. Scared he'll disappear again." "Those are legitimate fears, honey. You don't have to decide now." "Actually," said Samantha after thinking it over, "I think I do want to meet him. Not to form a father-daughter relationship, because that time has passed, but to fully understand where I come from." "Are you sure?" "I am. And if it goes wrong, I have you all to support me." Beatrice called Gregory back, and they arranged to meet the following Saturday at a diner downtown. Gregory arrived promptly. He was older, of course, but Beatrice could still recognize the young man she had loved. He seemed nervous and anxious. "Beatrice," he said, standing up as she and Samantha approached. "Gregory, this is Samantha." Father and daughter looked at each other in silence for a moment. The emotion was visible on both their faces. "Hi," said Gregory, his voice choked. "Hi," Samantha replied. They sat down, and for nearly 2 hours they talked about the past, the present, and the future. Gregory told them about his life, about how he had regretted running away, about how he had always wondered about the daughter he never knew. Samantha asked questions about her father's family, about the half-siblings she had, about the physical and personality traits she might have inherited. "You look a lot like my mother," said Gregory, "and you have the same gentle way of speaking she did." "And what do you hope for from this conversation?" asked Samantha, being direct. "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe just to meet you, to know what kind of person you've become, to be sure that you're happy and fulfilled. I am happy, yes, and a lot of my happiness comes from having found my mother again." Gregory looked at Beatrice. "You did an incredible job raising her, even in the difficult situation you were in. Actually, it was other people who raised her. I just brought her into the world. But you made the hardest decision a mother can make, giving up your own happiness to ensure your child's well-being. That's true love." "And you," Samantha said to Gregory, "what did you feel back then?" "Fear. A lot of fear. We were too young. We had no foundation for anything. When I found out about the pregnancy, I panicked. I thought running away would be easier for everyone. But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was the most cowardly decision of my life, and I've regretted it every day since." "Why did you never look for us?" "Because I thought I had no right. After so much time, after building a new life, I thought it would be selfish of me to show up and mess up your lives." Samantha considered her father's words. "Well, at least now we've met." "Yeah, and I'm really happy to see you've become an amazing woman." "Thank you." When they said goodbye, Gregory hugged Samantha timidly and then turned to Beatrice. "Thank you for giving me this chance, and I'm sorry for everything." "It's okay, Gregory. It's in the past now." On the way back home, Samantha was thoughtful. "What did you think of him, Mom?" "He seems to have matured a lot. He's not that terrified boy I knew anymore. He seems truly remorseful." "He does seem so. But what about you? How did you feel?" "Strange. It's hard to explain. It's like I've closed a circle, you know. Now I fully know where I come from." "And what happens from here on out?" "I don't know yet. I think we'll stay in touch, talk from time to time. But I don't expect it to become a father-daughter relationship. For that it's too late." "And that's okay." "It is. You are my real mother, Mum. You and Mrs. Eleanor, each in your own way. He is just the man who helped me exist." Beatrice smiled, relieved. She had feared that Gregory's reappearance might shake the relationship she had built with Samantha. When they arrived home, Trevor was eagerly waiting to hear how the meeting had gone. "So, how was it?" Samantha told him everything in detail. Trevor listened with interest, but also with a hint of jealousy. "It's weird to think you have a father," he said. "Why?" "I don't know. I was always just my mum's son. I never had a dad. And now I find out my sister has a father, has half-siblings. It's like she has a whole family I'm not part of." Samantha noticed her brother's insecurity and moved closer to him. "Trevor, no matter how many fathers, half-siblings, or anything else I have, the family that matters to me is right here. You, me, and Mum. The rest is just details from the past." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. You are my real brother and nothing will change that." "Thank you, Samantha. Sometimes I still feel insecure. That's normal. We're still getting to know each other, building this relationship. But I want you to know you can always trust me." Beatrice watched the interaction between her children with a heart full of gratitude. Her family wasn't conventional. It had been built through pain, separation, and reunion, but it was true and solid. A few months later, Beatrice's talks had become so popular that she was invited to write a book telling her story. "A book?" she said, surprised, to the editor who had approached her. "Yes, Mrs. Beatrice. Your talks have touched many people. A book would reach even more. But I don't know how to write books. Don't worry about that. We can hire a writer to help you. You just need to tell the story and he'll turn it into a book. Beatrice discussed the proposal with her children. I think it's a great idea, Mum, said Trevor. I think so too, agreed Samantha. Our story could really inspire other families. The book creation process took 6 months. Beatrice worked with a young writer, recounting every detail of her life, from her youth to the present. It was an emotionally intense process, but also liberating. When the book was finished, it received the title, The Ticket I Never Cashed, a story of love, forgiveness, and new beginnings. The launch was at a small bookstore in town. Beatrice was nervous, but Trevor and Samantha were there to support her. To everyone's surprise, over 100 people attended the event. During the signing session, an elderly lady approached Beatrice. Mrs. Beatrice, I want to thank you for your story. Why, dear? Because after listening to one of your talks, I found the courage to forgive my son, who had disappointed me greatly. Today we are best friends. That's wonderful. I'm so happy. You saved my family. Moments like this became common in Beatrice's life. Letters from readers, messages from people who had reconciled with family members, thank you phone calls. 1 year after the book's launch, the family was gathered for Sunday dinner when Trevor made an announcement. Everyone, I have some news. What is it? The two asked. I've met someone special. Beatrice and Samantha looked at each other, surprised. A girlfriend? Asked Samantha. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. What is she like? Asked Beatrice. Her name is Alison. She's a teacher, has 2 young children. She's a widow. A widow, said Beatrice. Yes. Her husband passed away 3 years ago in an accident. She's raising the boys alone. And where did you meet? At the store. She came to buy materials to renovate her house and, I don't know, we had a nice chat. She came back other times, and I ended up asking her out for coffee. That's great, son, said Beatrice. I'm very happy for you. Me too, said Samantha. When are we going to meet her? Well, if you're up for it, I thought of bringing her here for dinner next Sunday. Of course we're up for it, said Beatrice. I want to meet this woman who won over my son. And the children? Asked Samantha. Oh, that. They would come along. The boys are 7 and 5 years old. Even better. It's been a while since we've had children in this house, said Beatrice excitedly. The following Sunday was special. Alison arrived with her sons, Toby and Caleb, 2 lively kids who were immediately charmed by Beatrice. Grandma B, shouted Toby after 15 minutes of conversation. Grandma B? Laughed Beatrice. Where did you get that from? Toby has a habit of giving everyone nicknames, explained Alison, embarrassed. I love it. You can call me Grandma B. During lunch, Beatrice watched how Trevor interacted with the boys. It was evident that he had developed a genuine affection for them, and vice versa. Alison was a simple woman but intelligent and caring. She talked about her struggles as a single mother, about how hard it was to balance work and raising children, about how Trevor had appeared in her life at the right time. He has been a great support for us, she said. And you have been for me, replied Trevor. Alison taught me that family isn't just blood, it's also a choice. Beatrice smiled, recognizing in her son's words the wisdom she herself had acquired over the years. After lunch, while the children played in the backyard with Trevor, the 3 women talked in the kitchen. Alison, said Beatrice, can I say something? Of course, Mrs. Beatrice. I see that you and my son care for each other deeply, and I see that he loves your children as if they were his own. He's an amazing father to them, better than their biological father was, to tell you the truth. That's good. But I want you to know something. If one day you decide to make this union official, you'll have my full support. And the boys will gain not just a father, but also a grandmother who loves them. Alison was moved. Thank you, Mrs. Beatrice. That means a lot to me. For us too, said Samantha. It's beautiful to see Trevor so fulfilled. 6 months later, Trevor proposed to Alison. The ceremony was simple, held in the family's backyard, with few guests but a lot of love. Beatrice was radiant. Seeing her son happy, fulfilled, and maturely taking on the role of husband and adoptive father was an indescribable joy. During the celebration, she found herself alone for a moment, watching the gathered family. Trevor playing with Toby and Caleb, Samantha chatting animatedly with Allison, the neighbors and friends celebrating. "What are you thinking about?" asked Samantha, approaching. "I was thinking about a time when it seemed impossible to get here." "When?" "When you were little and I had to give you up, when Trevor abandoned me, when I found out the lottery ticket had expired. In each of those moments I thought my life was over. And now? Now I understand that each pain was necessary to reach this joy. If I hadn't given you up, perhaps I never would have learned to truly value family. If Trevor hadn't abandoned me, perhaps he never would have matured. If I had redeemed the lottery ticket, perhaps we would have become complacent and lost these precious lessons." "Do you really believe that?" "I do. Today I know the real prize was never the money. The real prize was having you back, having a family united by love and not by convenience." Samantha hugged her mother. "I believe that too, Mum, and I'm grateful for every step of this journey, no matter how painful it was." A few weeks after the wedding, Beatrice received an unexpected phone call. "Mrs. Beatrice, this is the publisher. We have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" "Your book has been so successful that a television producer is interested in making a movie based on it." "A movie?" "That's right. It would be for television. A movie to touch the hearts of American families." Beatrice was in shock. "But is that possible?" "Of course. Are you willing to discuss the details?" That evening during dinner, Beatrice told the whole family about the proposal, including Allison and the children. "A movie about our family?" asked Trevor, impressed. "It seems so." "Will it have famous actors?" asked Toby, excited. "I don't know, my love. It's still just a proposal." "Mom," said Samantha, "this is incredible. Imagine how many people our story could reach through a movie." "That's what I think too, but I want to know everyone's opinion before deciding." "I think we should accept," said Trevor. "If our story can help other families, why not share it with the entire country?" "I think so too," agreed Allison. "It's a unique opportunity." "Then it's decided," said Beatrice. "We'll make this movie." The production process lasted a whole year. Beatrice participated as a consultant, ensuring the story was told faithfully and respectfully. It was emotional to see actors portraying her life, reliving the most difficult and the happiest moments of her journey. The movie premiere was a landmark event. The entire family was present, including Gregory, who had been invited by Samantha. When the lights dimmed and the story began to unfold on the big screen, Beatrice couldn't hold back her tears. Seeing her life transformed into art, knowing that her story of suffering and overcoming could inspire thousands of people across the United States, was something she had never imagined possible. After the screening, there was a question and answer session. A woman in the audience raised her hand. "Mrs. Beatrice, if you could go back in time, would you change anything?" Beatrice thought for a long moment. "That's a difficult question. For a long time, I thought I would change many things. I wouldn't have given my daughter up for adoption. I would have told my son about the lottery ticket. I would have been firmer in some moments, more flexible in others." She paused. "But today, seeing where we've arrived, I wouldn't change a thing. Every choice, every mistake, every success brought us here. And here is a good place, a place of love, of unity, of true family." The audience applauded, moved. "Mrs. Beatrice," asked another viewer, "what is your advice for families going through difficult times?" "My advice is don't give up. Sometimes solutions don't come from where we expect. Sometimes we lose something to gain something much better. Sometimes we need to separate to learn the value of being together. Life has its own plans and they are always better than ours." Another viewer asked a question. "Do you still think about the lost lottery ticket?" Beatrice smiled. "I do, but not with sadness. I think of it with gratitude. Because if I had redeemed that ticket, perhaps I would never have learned that the true prize was already in my hands, the love of my children." The session ended with a standing ovation. Beatrice was emotional, but also fulfilled. Her story had touched hundreds of people that night and would touch many others through the film. In the following months, Beatrice received hundreds of letters and messages from people who had seen the movie. Stories of reconciliation, of forgiveness, of families who had reunited after years of separation. One letter in particular touched her deeply. It was from a 50-year-old woman who had abandoned her elderly mother and, inspired by the film, decided to return to care for her. "Mrs. Beatrice," the letter said, "if it weren't for your story, my mother would have died alone and I would have carried that guilt forever. Thank you for showing me that it's never too late to fix our mistakes." Reading letters like this, Beatrice understood more and more that her life had gained a greater purpose. It was no longer just about her personal happiness, but about how her experience could illuminate the path for other people. 2 years after the movie's premiere, the family was larger and more united than ever. Alison was pregnant with her first child with Trevor. Toby and Caleb called Beatrice Grandma without any hesitation. Samantha had become a successful businesswoman, and Trevor was the most prosperous manager in the store chain. On a special Sunday, Beatrice's 75th birthday, the family organized a surprise party in their backyard. Everyone was there, the children, the daughter-in-law, the beloved grandchildren, the dear neighbors, Martha and George, some friends from the lectures. When Beatrice blew out the candles on the cake, someone shouted, "Make a wish, Grandma B." She closed her eyes for a moment, but soon opened them with a smile. "I don't need to make a wish," she said. "I already have everything I've ever wanted." "Everything?" asked Trevor, joking. "Everything. I have children who love me. I have beautiful grandchildren. I have a wonderful daughter-in-law. I have true friends. What more could a woman want?" "What about the lottery ticket?" asked Toby, who loved that part of the story. "Oh, my little grandson," replied Beatrice, picking up the boy in her arms. "Grandma discovered she had already cashed her winning ticket a long time ago. The prize was all of you." "And how much were we worth?" asked Caleb. "Much more than $100,000, my love." "You're priceless." The children laughed, but the adults were moved by the answer. During the party, Samantha approached her mother. "Mom, I have a surprise for you." "What is it, my daughter?" "Remember you always said you wanted to see the ocean?" "I remember. Well, I've organized a trip for the whole family. We're going to spend a week at the beach next month." Beatrice was speechless. "Are you serious?" "Very serious. Everything is already arranged. We rented a big house close to the beach to fit the whole family." "My daughter," Beatrice began to cry. "You remembered." "Of course I remembered. It's an old dream of yours, and dreams need to come true." The trip to the Gulf Coast was magical. Beatrice, at 75, saw the ocean for the first time. She sat for hours on the sand, contemplating the waves, feeling the salty breeze on her face, listening to the sound of the water. "It's everything I imagined, and much more," she said to Samantha, who was sitting beside her. "Are you happy?" "I am complete, my daughter. Completely complete." At that moment, with her feet in the sand and her heart full of gratitude, Beatrice understood she had lived an extraordinary life. Not for great deeds or material achievements, but for the ability to love, forgive, start over, and above all for having built a true family from the shards of a broken heart. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky gold, and she knew this was just one more of the many special moments she would still live alongside the people she loved most in the world. 5 years had passed since that first trip to the ocean. Beatrice, at 80, remained active and lucid, actively participating in family life. Trevor and Alison had had 2 more children, and the house was always full of children's laughter. Samantha had married a kind man she met at a professional event and was expecting her first child. One autumn afternoon, Beatrice was in her backyard, watching Toby and Caleb play with their younger siblings, when she received an unexpected call. "Mrs. Beatrice, this is the Department of Education calling." "The Department of Education? There must be some mistake." "No mistake, ma'am. We are calling to inform you that you have been selected to receive a special honor." "What kind of honor?" "You will be decorated as an exemplary citizen for services rendered to society through your lectures on family and reconciliation." Beatrice was speechless. "This is a mistake, surely." "It is no mistake at all, Mrs. Beatrice. We have received hundreds of letters from people who were helped by your lectures and your book. The ceremony will be held next month in the state capital. When she hung up the phone, Beatrice was trembling with emotion. She called the whole family to share the news. "Mum, this is fantastic," said Trevor. "You deserve all the honors in the world," said Samantha. "Grandma is going to become really famous," shouted Toby. The ceremony was magnificent. Beatrice, accompanied by her entire family, took the stage to receive the medal. In her acceptance speech, she said, "For most of my life I thought I was just an ordinary woman with ordinary problems. I never imagined my pain could turn into hope for other people. Today I understand that we all have extraordinary stories to tell. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what really matters. And what really matters is love. The love that forgives, that welcomes, that rebuilds, that transforms. If my story helped anyone discover that, then all the pain was worth it." The audience rose in a standing ovation. Amid the applause, Beatrice searched for the faces of her family in the front row and smiled. There was her true prize, her true achievement. After the ceremony, during the reception, a young woman approached Beatrice. "Mrs. Beatrice, my name is Chloe. I'm 17 and I'm pregnant. Oh, my dear, my parents want to kick me out, my boyfriend disappeared and I'm desperate. But then I read your book, watched your talks online, and I wanted to ask you something." "You can ask, my dear." "How did you manage to be so brave?" Beatrice held the young woman's hands. "My child, I wasn't brave. I was terrified, lost, desperate, just like you are now. But I did the only thing I could do, one day at a time, and look where we are. But how will I manage to raise a baby alone?" "Who said you'll be alone? There are people willing to help, institutions that support young mothers, paths you don't yet know, and most importantly, there is a strength inside you that you haven't discovered yet. Do you think I can do it?" "I'm sure of it. And you know why? Because you are here, seeking help, wanting to do the right thing. That already shows what kind of mother you will be." Chloe hugged Beatrice and cried in her arms, "Thank you. Thank you for giving me hope. The hope was always inside you, my child. I just helped you see it." Moments like this became increasingly frequent in Beatrice's life. People of all ages sought her out, looking for advice, support, a word of hope. A year later, Chloe came to see Beatrice again, but now she was different. She carried a beautiful baby in her arms and smiled radiantly. "Mrs. Beatrice, I want you to meet Lucas." "How beautiful! How have you been, my child?" "It's hard, I won't lie, but it's working out. I managed to finish my studies, I'm taking a technical course, and my mother ended up taking me back." "How wonderful. And it all started that day we talked. You planted a seed of hope in my heart." "The credit is all yours, my dear. I just believed in you. That's why I came. I want you to know you changed my life, and Lucas's too." Beatrice held the baby in her arms and was moved. Every life her story had touched, every person who had found the strength to start over, every family that had reconciled, all of it gave meaning to her journey. That evening at home, surrounded by family, Beatrice reflected on the mysterious paths of life. Who would have thought that a simple woman, who had been through so much pain and loss, would become a source of inspiration for thousands of people? "What are you thinking about, Mom?" asked Samantha, noticing her mother's distant gaze. "I was thinking life is funny. When I was young, I dreamed of simple things: a happy marriage, children raised with love, financial security. And you didn't get those things. I made it, but in a completely different way than I imagined. I didn't have a traditional marriage, but I have a beautiful family. I didn't have financial security in my youth, but today I have enough. And most importantly, I discovered something I had never dreamed of, that my story could make a difference in other people's lives." "Do you regret anything?" "I don't regret anything anymore, my dear. Every choice, every mistake, every success was part of a bigger plan that I couldn't see at the time. Even the lost lottery ticket," Beatrice laughed, "especially the lost lottery ticket. If I had claimed that money, maybe we would have become complacent. Maybe we would never have learned to value the things that are truly important. And what was the biggest lesson of all this? That love is the only thing that really matters. Love that forgives, love that understands, love that never gives up. Everything else is just details. 2 years later, Beatrice turned 82. The party was grand, with over 200 people. Among the guests were many who had been touched by her story. Chloe with Lucas, now a clever 3-year-old boy. Dozens of people who had reconciled with family members after watching her talks. Young people who had found the courage to face difficulties. During her thank you speech, Beatrice said, "When I turned 70, I thought my life was coming to an end. Today, at 82, I feel like I'm just beginning. Every day is a new opportunity to love, to help, to make a difference in someone's life. And as long as God gives me strength, I will continue doing this." The audience applauded, moved. Samantha approached the microphone. "I'd like to make a special announcement," she said. "In honor of my mother's 82nd birthday, our family has decided to create the Beatrice Harrison Foundation, an organization that will offer free support to families in crisis." "What do you mean?" asked Beatrice, surprised. "Mom, you've already helped so many people individually. Now we want to expand that work. The foundation will offer family guidance, conflict mediation, psychological support, all inspired by the principles you've always championed." Beatrice began to cry. "My children, you would really do this?" "Of course," said Trevor. "It's the natural continuation of your work." "And I will manage everything," said Samantha. "So you can focus on what you do best, talking to people and planting hope in their hearts." The Beatrice Harrison Foundation was inaugurated 6 months later in a spacious house in the city centre. In its first month of operation, it was already helping 20 families in need. Beatrice, despite her age, insisted on participating actively. Twice a week she led conversation groups where people shared their stories and found mutual support. One of these sessions was particularly memorable. A middle-aged man with tears in his eyes shared, "Mrs. Beatrice, I abandoned my mother 5 years ago because of money. After I watched your film, I tried to find her, but she was no longer here." The man wept profusely. "Now I have to live with this guilt forever." Beatrice stood up and approached him. "My son, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. Your mother, wherever she is, has already forgiven you. Mothers always forgive. Now you need to forgive yourself and use that pain to do something good." "How do you mean?" "How do you mean? Use your experience to help other people who are going through the same situation. Prevent other children from making the same mistake you made." "Do you think I can do that?" "I'm sure of it. The pain you feel is proof that you have a good heart. Turn that pain into purpose." 3 months later, that man became a volunteer at the foundation, dedicating his free time to talking with children who had become distant from their mothers. Stories like this multiplied every day at the foundation. Beatrice saw her own journey reflected in the stories of each person they helped, and it gave her a feeling of fulfillment that not all the lottery prizes in the world could provide. On a spring morning, Beatrice was in her room, organizing some thank you letters she had received, when Samantha entered with a serious expression. "Mum, I need to talk to you about something." "What is it, my dear?" "You look worried." "It's about the foundation. We've received a very interesting proposal, but also a very challenging one." "What kind of proposal?" "The state government wants to help us expand the project to other cities in the state. It would be an incredible opportunity to help many more families, but it would also mean much more responsibility." Beatrice reflected for a moment. "And you want to accept it?" "I do, but only if you agree. After all, it's your name on the foundation. It's your story that inspires all the work." "My dear, when I started giving talks, I never imagined it would go this far. When we wrote the book, I didn't know it would touch so many people. When we made the film, I couldn't imagine the impact it would have, and now... Now I see that perhaps this is the true reason for everything I went through. Maybe all that pain was to get here, to be able to help not just a few people, but thousands of them." "So you agree?" "Yes, I agree, but on one condition." "What is it?" "That you continue to run the project. I've done my part. Now it's time for you younger ones to carry it forward. You're not going to stop participating, are you? Of course not. As long as I have strength, I'll keep doing what I know how to do, talking to people and planting hope. But the administration is up to you. 1 year later, the Beatrice Harrison Foundation was present in 15 cities across the state, helping over 1,000 families per month. Beatrice's story had become a symbol of hope and reconciliation across the country. On a summer afternoon, she was sitting on the porch of her house watching her great-grandchildren play in the yard when Trevor approached. "Mother, can I ask you a question?" "Of course, son." "Do you consider yourself a fulfilled person?" Beatrice smiled. "You know, son, for a long time I thought fulfillment was having money, security, a life without problems. Today I know that fulfillment is being able to look back and see that your time in this world made a difference." "And do you think you made a difference? Look around, Trevor. Look at our united family. Look at the people we've managed to help. Look at the seed of hope we've planted in so many hearts. If that's not making a difference, I don't know what is." "You're right, Mother. And do you know what's most beautiful about all this?" "What?" "That every person we help will help others. Who will help others? Who will help others? It's like a river that never stops flowing. You are wise, Mother." "I'm not wise, son. I'm just a woman who learned from life, and life is a strict teacher, but a fair one." That evening during the family dinner, Beatrice made an announcement. "Everyone, I have something to tell you." They all stopped eating and paid attention. "I received a very special invitation today. They want me to write another book." "About what?" asked Allison. "About the lessons I've learned in recent years, about the stories of the people I've met at the foundation, about how to turn pain into purpose." "Are you going to accept?" asked Samantha. "Yes, I am. I think I have a few more things to share with the world." And so it was. At 83 years old, Beatrice began writing her second book, which was titled Seeds of Hope: How to Turn Pain into Purpose. The writing process was different this time. Instead of simply recounting her own story, she wove in dozens of other stories of overcoming adversity that she had come to know through the foundation. Each chapter was a lesson on resilience, forgiveness, love, and new beginnings. The book was launched 2 years later, when Beatrice turned 85. The book signing was at the bookstore where she had launched her first book, but this time the event had to be moved to a theater, so great was the crowd that wanted to meet her. During the presentation, a young woman in the audience raised her hand. "Mrs. Beatrice, what is your biggest regret in life?" Beatrice thought for a long moment before answering, "My biggest regret is having taken so long to discover the transformative power of forgiveness. If I had learned earlier to forgive myself, others, and life circumstances, I would have spared myself many years of unnecessary suffering." "And what is your greatest pride?" "My greatest pride is knowing that I managed to turn my wounds into medicine for other wounded hearts. There is no better feeling than knowing that your pain served to ease someone else's pain." After the event, back at home, Beatrice was reflecting on the young woman's question when Samantha approached. "Mom, can I ask a question about regrets?" "Of course, my love. Do you really regret not having claimed the lottery ticket?" Beatrice laughed, as she always did when this subject came up. "You know, my dear, today I am absolutely certain it was the best thing I ever did in my life, even though I didn't know it at the time." "Why?" "Because if I had claimed that money, perhaps I would never have learned the real value of things. Perhaps you two would never have matured the way you did. Perhaps our family would never have become so strong and united. Do you really believe it was all part of a greater plan?" "Yes, I do. Not a plan drawn up by someone, but a plan that builds itself with every choice we make, every lesson we learn, every time we decide to love instead of hate, to forgive instead of hold a grudge. That's a beautiful way to see life. It's the only way to see life, my daughter, because if we don't believe that everything has a purpose, what's the point of moving forward?" 2 months after the launch of the second book, Beatrice received the news that it had become the year's best-selling non-fiction book. It was a recognition she had never imagined possible. But what moved her most was not the sales figures, but the letters and messages from readers. Hundreds of people wrote telling how the book had changed their lives, how they had found the strength to forgive, to start over, to fight for their families. One letter in particular touched her deeply. Mrs. Beatrice, I am a 25-year-old woman who was about to give up on life. I lost my parents very early, was raised by grandparents who have since passed. I have no family, no money, I see no future. But then I read your book and understood that I can build my own family, that I can turn my loneliness into a bridge to help other lonely people. I decided to open my home to orphaned children, as I once was. Thank you for teaching me that our greatest wealth is our capacity to love. Beatrice cried upon reading that letter. Once again, her story had planted a seed of hope that would bear fruit for many generations. On the eve of her 86th birthday, Beatrice was organizing some documents when she found an old photograph. It was of her with Trevor as a baby, just after he was born. She looked at that young mother of only 21, full of dreams and fears, and felt immense tenderness for herself. Poor thing, she murmured. She didn't know even a tenth of what life had in store for her. Who are you talking to? Asked Trevor, entering the room. To myself, laughed Beatrice, showing him the photo. Look how tiny you were. Trevor approached and looked at the photo fondly. You look so young. I was young, and scared and alone, and full of uncertainties. But you handled everything. I did. One day at a time, one problem at a time. That's how life works, son. We can't solve everything at once, but we can solve one thing at a time. Mom, can I confess something? Of course. Sometimes I still feel guilty for having abandoned you. Beatrice held her son's face in her hands. Trevor, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. If you hadn't left me at that moment, you would never have learned what you learned. I would never have found Samantha again. We would never have become the family we are today. I would never have discovered my purpose of helping other families. Sometimes we need to get lost to truly find ourselves. You always manage to see the good side of everything. It's not that I can see the good side, son. It's that I learned there is no bad side or good side. There is only life, with all its ups and downs, and our ability to turn every experience into a lesson. On her 86th birthday, the party was even bigger than the last one. The neighborhood community hall was packed, with people of all ages celebrating the life of a woman who had become a symbol of hope and transformation. During the party, a young man approached Beatrice. Mrs. Beatrice, my name is Miguel. I'm 18, and I wanted to thank you. Thank me for what, my dear? My parents separated when I was 12, and it was a very ugly separation, with a lot of fighting, a lot of hatred. My sister and I were caught in the middle of that war, suffering a lot. But then my mother watched one of your talks and everything changed. Changed how? She learned to forgive my father. He learned to forgive her. And today, even though they're separated, they are friends. We managed to have a family again, different from the first one, but a real family. Beatrice was moved. How beautiful, my boy. And how are you all today? We are very happy, and it all started with your words about forgiveness and new beginnings. Stories like Miguel's were repeated throughout the entire party. Each person had something to thank for, a change to share, a hope to celebrate. When the time came for the speech, Beatrice climbed onto the small makeshift stage and looked at all those people who had become an extension of her family. My dears, she began, when I was a child, I dreamed of having a big family. I wanted to have many siblings, many cousins, many aunts and uncles, and I ended up an only child and thought I would never have the big family I dreamed of. She paused and smiled. Today, at 86, I look at you and realize my dream came true in a way I could never have imagined. You are my big family, not by blood, but by love. Not by chance, but by our mutual choice to be a light for one another. The audience applauded, moved. And do you know the most beautiful thing of all? It's that each one of you will leave here and be family to other people, who will be family to other people, who will be family to other people. Love multiplies infinitely, and that is the closest we get to eternity. When the party ended and everyone had left, Beatrice stayed alone for a few minutes in the hall, contemplating what had happened. Samantha approached. What are you thinking about, Mom? I was thinking that if someone had told me 10 years ago that I would be here today celebrating my 86th birthday surrounded by hundreds of people I consider family, I wouldn't have believed it. Life is truly surprising. It is. And do you know what surprises me the most? What? It's that it all started with a loss. The loss of the lottery ticket, which seemed like the worst thing that could happen, was actually the beginning of all this. You're right. If it weren't for that loss, exactly. If it weren't for that loss, we would never have discovered our true treasures. 3 months after the anniversary, Beatrice was at her routine medical checkup when she received unexpected news. "Mrs. Beatrice," said the doctor, "I need to speak with you about some tests." "What is it, doctor?" "It's nothing serious, but we discovered you have a heart condition that will require some care." "What kind of care?" "Mainly rest. No overly tiring activities, no stress." "Doctor, I am 86 years old and have a very active life. How am I supposed to stop doing the things I love?" "You don't have to stop. You just need to do them with more moderation." Beatrice returned home thoughtful. How would she tell the family? How would she balance her desire to keep helping people with the need to care for her health? That night, during dinner, she told them about the doctor's appointment. "Mom, the doctor is right," said Samantha. "You need to take care of yourself." "But I feel fine, dear. I don't want to stop working at the foundation." "No one is asking you to stop," said Trevor. "But maybe it's time to slow down." "How so?" "Instead of coordinating groups twice a week, how about once a week? Instead of traveling for lectures in other cities, how about focusing only here?" Beatrice considered the suggestion. "Do you think people will understand?" "Mom," said Allison, "you've already done more for people than most do in several lifetimes. It's time to take care of yourself too." "And we are here to continue the work," added Samantha. "The foundation will keep going, the lectures can be recorded, the books continue to touch lives." Beatrice realized her children were right. The time had come to pass the baton to the next generation, trusting that the work would continue. "All right," she said. "Let's make the necessary changes." The following months were a period of adaptation. Beatrice reduced her activities, but did not stop completely. Once a week, she still led a conversation group at the foundation and occasionally gave local lectures. The rest of the time she dedicated to family and new personal projects. One of these projects was especially meaningful. She had started writing letters to her great-grandchildren, telling family stories, sharing life lessons, leaving a written legacy for the generations to come. "Why are you doing this, Grandma?" asked Toby, now a 15-year-old teenager. "Because one day you will have children, and those children will have children, and so on. I want everyone to know where they came from, to know the family stories, to understand the lessons we learned. And what if we forget the stories? That's why I'm writing them down. Written words travel through time, my grandson. Even when I am no longer here, my words will keep talking to you." Toby became thoughtful. "Grandma, are you afraid of passing on?" "No, my dear. I have lived much longer than I expected, accomplished much more than I dreamed. When my time comes, I will go in peace, knowing I leave the world a little better than I found it. But we will miss you, and I will miss you too. But love doesn't end when people pass on, Toby. Love stays forever in the hearts of those we love." 2 years passed. Beatrice, now 88, remained lucid and active despite the heart care. She had finished the letters for her great-grandchildren and started a new project, a documentary about the Beatrice Harrison Foundation and its impact on society. The documentary would be directed by a young filmmaker who had been one of the foundation's first beneficiaries as a child. His family had been reconciled through Beatrice's work, and now he wanted to give back by telling that story to the world. During the filming, he asked a question that deeply moved Beatrice. "Mrs. Beatrice, if you could leave just one message for humanity, what would it be?" She thought for a long moment before answering. "I would say it's worth believing in the transformative power of love and forgiveness, that there is no situation so bad that it cannot be turned into something beautiful, that our greatest pains can become our greatest strengths, and that family isn't just who we are born with, but also who we choose to love and who chooses to love us back." "And about the famous lottery ticket?" Beatrice smiled, for the 1000th time in her life when speaking about this subject. About the ticket, I would say that sometimes we lose something to gain something infinitely better. That life's true prize doesn't come in money, but in relationships, in purpose, in knowing that our passage through the world made a difference. The documentary was finished 6 months later and premiered at the city's film festival. The whole family was present, as were hundreds of people who had been touched by Beatrice's work. When the lights came on at the end of the screening, there was a 10-minute standing ovation. Beatrice was emotional but also tired. Age was beginning to weigh more heavily. In the weeks following the documentary's release, she noticed her strength was waning. She slept more, felt more fragile, needed more help with simple activities. One morning she woke with a special clarity. She called the whole family for an important talk. "My dears," she said, when everyone was gathered in the living room, "I want to talk to you about something important." "What is it, Mom?" asked Samantha, noticing the solemn tone. "I feel my time here is coming to an end. Don't be sad. It's not a bad thing. It's natural. It's part of life." "Mum, don't say that," said Trevor, emotional. "Son, let me finish. I'm not sad or afraid. I'm at peace. I've lived a full life, known true love, had the joy of seeing my family united, managed to help many people, left a legacy that will continue through you. But we still need you," said Allison. "You don't need me anymore, my dears. You've learned everything I could teach. Now it's time for you to be the teachers, the caregivers, the planters of hope." "Mom," said Samantha, holding her mother's hands, "what can we do to repay everything you've done for us? Keep being a united family. Continue the work of the foundation. Keep spreading love and forgiveness wherever you go. And most of all, be happy. Your happiness is my greatest prize." "Grandma," said Toby, "how will we manage without you?" "My grandson, every time you choose love over hate, forgiveness over revenge, hope over despair, I will be there with you. Not in body, but in heart, in the lessons I learned and taught." 2 months later, on a sunny spring morning, Beatrice did not wake up. She passed away in her sleep, peacefully, with a smile on her face. The funeral was the largest the town had ever seen. Thousands of people came to pay tribute to the woman who had touched so many lives. Representatives from all 15 cities where the Beatrice Harrison Foundation operated were present. Entire families that had been reconciled through her work traveled from afar to say goodbye. During the ceremony, Samantha gave an emotional speech. "My mother always said that life's true winning ticket didn't come in money, but in love. Today, seeing all these people gathered here, people of all ages, from all places, all touched by her life, I completely understand what she meant. This is her prize. Every heart she touched, every family she helped reconcile, every person who found hope through her words." Trevor also said, "My mother taught me that it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to forgive. It's never too late to choose love. She transformed the worst moments of her life into opportunities for growth and service. That is the legacy she leaves us, the certainty that we can turn any pain into purpose." After the funeral, the family gathered at home to read a letter Beatrice had left. "My dear children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, if you are reading this letter, it is because I have reached the end of my journey. Do not be sad, for I lived much more than I dreamed. I loved much more than I hoped. I accomplished much more than I ever thought possible. I want you to know that every difficult moment was worth it because it brought me to you. The lottery ticket I never redeemed taught me that life's true prize is not in what we gain, but in what we give. Take care of each other. Keep our family united. Continue the work of the foundation, helping other families find the path of love and forgiveness. And always remember, you were my winning ticket. $100,000 could never buy the wealth I found in each of your hugs, in every smile, in every moment we spent together. Thank you for making my life extraordinary. With all my eternal love, Mom, Grandma Beatrice." When they finished reading the letter, everyone cried and laughed at the same time. It was impossible to stay sad for long while remembering a woman who had transformed so many lives through love. 1 year after Beatrice's passing, the foundation had expanded to 25 cities. A new book was released containing her final reflections and letters to her great-grandchildren. The documentary won national and international awards, but Beatrice's most important legacy was not in the numbers or the accolades. It was in the thousands of families who learned to love again, in the people who found the strength to start over, in the hearts that discovered the transformative power of forgiveness. In the house where she had lived her final years, now managed by Samantha and Trevor together, there was a plaque at the entrance that summarized Beatrice's entire life philosophy. Life's true prize is not in what we gain, but in what we give. And so, the woman who once thought she had lost everything by not redeeming a lottery ticket discovered she had won the greatest prize possible, a life with purpose, a family united by love, and the certainty that her time on earth had left the planet a little better. End of story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought. Do you believe Beatrice made the right choices? Which lesson touched you the most? Share your honest opinion with us. It helps us a lot. Leave your like and subscribe for more emotional stories like this one.